Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about TV, movies, and online content and help you answer the question, are we ready for a post-Keeping Up with the Kardashians world? Sure are. I'm your host Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
I feel like the only reason that show's cancelled is because they are unable to leave the house and film anything this year due to COVID, right?
I mean, technically it would be easier. Just set up Big Brother style. Like a bunch.
Yeah, but they always go shopping or something, don't they? Is that what they do? Or they go visit people?
I assume so, yeah. So
I don't know.
It would have been the most interesting season because you have to actually delve into the actual personalities.
Oh, scary. Cancel that shit.
We got a big episode for you. We were going to be talking about what's in our watch history. We're talking about some news. We'll be giving our Emmy predictions for this year. And we're talking about the shows that we ended up watching this week. Unorthodox, What We Do in the Shadows, Schitt's Creek, and Better Call Saul. So I'll kick things off. I watched the recent release to Disney movie Mulan. Forked out that $35 to watch the movie that was meant to come out in March on my HD TV through Disney Plus streaming service. It's fine. It's very pretty looking, but there's not a lot else going for it. Gave it a 6 out of 10. I said, with Mulan, Disney has tried to provide a version of the Chinese folklore that's more respectful. Unfortunately, by doing so, they remove a lot of the fun and character from the animated source material, leaving only a series of pretty shots more focused on telling a parable than a fun story. So I feel like a lot of the film, the story, they're beating you over the head with a lot of the themes of honoring your family, and you got to be true to yourself. Of course, the film based on the animated film, which Mulan takes her father's place in the army by pretending to be a man, and then which is frowned upon because it's back in I don't know what time in China, feudal Japan, when women were not obviously considered equals. It's fine. It's missing a strong story. I mean, the action's really good. I think it's kind of inspired, obviously, by Asian films, mostly Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. There's a lot of parallels to a certain extent. With Mulan having in the original animated film, apparently she's like, because I haven't watched it in years, so I can't really remember a lot about it. But she gained her skills like through hard work. Like she became a good fighter because she trained and stuff like that. In this film, she's blessed with an abundance of chi. So she does all the floaty wushu stuff all over the place. She runs across walls, all kinds of cool. It looks cool in action, but like from a story point of view, it's not really interesting as like the animated film. It's like she's, to a certain extent, she's super powered, even though the director came out beforehand and said Mulan's not a superhero. She's kind of like a superhero, especially when she's the only one in the Chinese army to possess that ability. I mean, the other thing, Mulan, kind of a blank slate. It doesn't help, obviously. In the original film, she had songs that she could sing to let you know what she's thinking and how she's feeling, or she had Mushu, the small dragon, to talk to. But in this movie, she's quiet all the time because she's pretending to be a man, even though she's a woman. So she doesn't have anyone to share a secret with, or like have show you who she actually is. The villains are kind of fine. They created a new character played by Gong Li, who's a witch, and she has like a kind of a parallel story to Mulan that they try to connect, but it doesn't really work because they have like 3 scenes together through the entire film, and then they try to make it more meaningful than it felt because of their limited screen time together. Not there is some fun to be had in the film. Obviously, I feel like there's less comic relief in this one than there have been in the last couple of animated films. Like, obviously, the most recent one that I can think of is Aladdin, where that was a very funny film, whereas this one's much more serious, which is very different to a lot of the Disney fare we've come to expect. But yeah, so this one's coming to Disney Plus base December 4th. So I would recommend waiting till then.
I can't say I've seen anything positive about it.
I mean, it's not helped by all the political stuff around it as well. That is probably driving a lot of people to not spend the $35. Well, apparently the trackings that Disney's released says it's on track to do better than Hamilton did earlier in the year, even though that was just part of the base Disney Plus package. So
people starve for content.
Content, yeah. Very pretty, very colorful. Like, maybe too colorful. Like, they were playing around with the color grading all over the place. But yeah, wait till December to check that one out. Then we both watched the first 3 episodes of The Boys season 2, arriving on Amazon. Of course, this season released the first 3 episodes, and new episodes will come out weekly. Fridays. Dylan, you wrote a couple of episode reviews on the site. What have you thought of The Boys so far?
I thought it's good. I thought the first episode, I was a little bit like, oh, how long are we going to be messing around with this whole on the run undercover thing? But I don't know. I don't want to go like heavy spoilers into episode 3, but I can say by the time you get to episode 3, they're kind of out of the whole, we're just going to stay in hiding this whole season thing that I was worried they would do for like half the season or something like that. So I'm glad to see the plot doesn't take too long to get moving. And that's probably why they released the first 3 episodes, because it's kind of an arc, I guess. The first 3 kind of present this one story arc, and it finishes up, and you're presented with like, okay, what the fuck's going to happen now kind of thing. But I mean, it's more of The Boys with bigger budgets, so, and everyone's kind of just a lot better in it. So like Anthony Starr, if you enjoyed him playing the evil Superman in the first season, he's just that, but even better, I would say, this season. Like, he's even more fun to hate somehow this season, especially because obviously spoilers for the first season at this stage. We're talking about second season, but this show introduces, or the end of the last season introduced that he had a son, which was by Butcher's wife, who we discover is alive. Becca, yeah. And so in this season, he's decided, I'm going to try and be a father figure to my son. And those scenes in the first couple episodes are probably some of my favorite, just because of how awkward and weird and terrible they are. And just his facial reactions as he says certain lines and things. I feel like he's really got, in this season, it really feels like he's more in tone with that character. Like, if the first season was him discovering how to play Homelander, this season is just him completely in tone and playing that character. Yeah, he's got that shit down packed. Butcher is even more over the top scene Chewie this season than, all right, lads, fucking chop. You know, it's kind of ridiculous, but that's why everyone liked him. I guess why it works. But it's absolute nonsense. First couple episodes, we get some stuff with the Deep, which I found funny, but at the same time, they're trying to do some sort of like redemption arc. They've
been doing that for the last, since episode 1. They started.
I think we talked about in the spoiler thing.
Yes,
how much I wasn't on board with that, and I'm still obviously not on board with it, because he like sexually assaulted at least a few people that we probably know about in the show. The key one being
Starlight.
Starlight. And then they're trying to do this redemption arc, and I'm like, I'm enjoying watching it from a comedic point of view, but I'm definitely not on board to suddenly liking you. Sorry, I'm sorry that sexual predators aren't top of my list for people to just easily forgive. But otherwise, no, it's good. I'm happy it's back. I'm glad I know there's been a kickoff about, it's weekly, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to watch it now. But Amazon's just trying to get more money out of me, so I can't watch it all in one go. I don't know.
What? You're
I kinda
unsubscribing to Amazon at this point?
I don't know. I've seen people write stuff like that, but I think this show will work week by week. I think it's good to watch it and then digest it, and maybe not. We'll see. But I'm on board so far to that idea.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it so far. Obviously, that first 3 episodes, obviously being all together helped. Like you said, them being sort of all set in one place. Definitely having that sort of character arc, or set up a few characters in this first chunk of thing where they've got the new member of the Seven Stormfront, who we get a full look at through this whole 3 episodes, I think. We don't know all her motivations, but we get a good idea of her character after these 3 episodes.
I can't remember. Did you read?
I've read like half, maybe.
Okay.
Every time I start, I kind of drop off at some point.
Yeah, it's not very good. I don't think they've seen it. I don't think I'm ever going to go back and finish it. It's very
and this is obviously they've already changed it dramatically. They've gone a couple of different directions.
That character is without spoilers, the key thing that makes that character is the exact same thing in the comics. So I kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah. No, I probably forgot completely. So for her, when that happened, it was like, okay. You can see they've put more money into the show. Obviously, some big action set pieces, especially in that 3rd episode. Getting to know the boys more. Huey, poor Huey. I feel like he's been covered in blood every episode so far this season.
Literally, yeah.
Including,
I need him to do something. That's one thing I'm kind of hoping we get out soon. Like at the moment, Huey's arc in the first 3 episodes is just kind of like, he's just not a very engaging. I feel like his character was actually more engaging in the first season so far because he was kind of more aboard the mission of trying to get revenge, but now he's just kind of feels like he's just floating along. And you get a moment in the 3rd episode where it seems like he's finally going to stand up for himself and do something or whatever, but then I'm not sure where that heads by the end of the 3rd episode. So yeah.
Yeah. And we get more Giancarlo Esposito this season as the head of, what's it called? Voight Industries. Seeing him going up against Homelander, I thought it was one of the most interesting scenes probably of the season so far. And man, that guy's doing so much work at the moment. Is he crazy?
It's popular.
A lot of paychecks. So yes, boys, available on Amazon. Episode 4 coming today when this episode comes out. So
yeah,
looking forward to that. Not a lot else I've watched. Oh no, I guess there is a couple of things. I watched the latest season of AP Bio. I watched the first few episodes that dropped on Stan. Again, really good show about a Harvard professor who kind of throws his career out of order and ends up teaching high school biology at his hometown. Interestingly, this obviously got moved to Peacock streaming service. So they've played around with the formula a little bit. They've got one episode this season where for a good 10 minutes, they act like everything in the episode is previously on. So like instead of having like a proper episode, like every few minutes or every time they cut to a separate scene, it's like, and previously on AP Bio, and then it cut to another thing. And there's like maybe 5-6 episodes or 5-6 minutes of like episode. And then there's a bunch of gags going on next time on AP Bio, which you wouldn't have been able to do that on Primetime TV because you'd have the ad breaks in between. So, just a couple of little things like that. Really solid show. Enjoyable. 3 seasons on Stan right now. Also mention the latest series of the Hollywood Reporter Roundtables is up. At day of recording, they just released the Comedy Showrunners Roundtable. which was a good listen. They're all really a really good listen. I feel like this season though, there tends to be someone who takes over the discussion. You know, like in the
Who's it going to be?
huh?
Who's it going to be?
Sure, yeah. In the male comedy roundtable, Ricky Gervais kind of pulls focus a lot. But then in the female comedy showcase roundtable, it's Tiffany Haddish, who seems to like talk a lot. And there tends to be like one in every single one. So
there's no moderator for this.
No, there's a moderator, but obviously they're talking over Zoom. So it's a bit difficult to cut people off and that kind of stuff, or edit people down. All of them are really interesting. I think that comedy one is good because everybody kind of starts roasting Ricky Gervais by the end of the episode.
I'm in.
I don't know if you will be, but because he gets to talk before then, and you.
Unfortunately,
he does talk about his justification for the jokes he tells and that kind of stuff.
Boo-hoo.
So, but really interesting. Obviously, the time of year, heading into the Emmy season, hearing everybody talk about these kind of things. Yeah, really interesting. So let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. So I watched the latest movie from Charlie Kaufman, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, starring Jesse Plemons, Jesse Buckley, Toni Collette, David Thewlis. Synopsis is full of misgivings. A young woman travels with a new boyfriend to his parents' secluded farm. This is a difficult one to talk about because I feel like you need to watch it and obviously experience it. I want to provide as little details as possible.
Yeah, I feel like you should because I'm going to watch it. I haven't yet, and I know nothing about it other than it's Kaufman's first movie since
Anomalisa.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very much a Kaufman movie. I can say that. Shocking. I didn't necessarily get it when I watched it through, but then I started reading up as to what the movie was about and key things, and it all made more sense, obviously. It's incredibly uncomfortable at times to watch. It's like, yeah, there's an unease through the entire film. And yeah, it's really good, and I think I appreciate it more the more time I've had to think about it, which is like 24 hours or so, and listening to other people discuss it. And yes, it is a very interesting film that has references to other films and layered, and yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. So I recommend checking out I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Everyone in it is really good. Yeah, check that one out. So also palate cleanser, I checked out Chef's Table Barbecue. Shout out to Nicholas Pryor for a series that he should be watching. So the Chef's Table franchise, obviously on Netflix, follows different chefs and sort of explores their history and how they became kind of renowned and that kind of thing. But this series focuses on people who specifically work in barbecue food, which isn't necessarily the most glamorous or high-end food at times. Yeah, really interesting. Everybody's all got their own unique stories, and they've picked different types of... It's not just straight, the barbecue we see in like Carolinas and that kind of thing. There's one chef who's based here in Sydney, who's like, he likes to grill everything.
Cook?
That's his thing.
Oh.
He likes to grill everything. And sort of his story is really interesting, where he went to this restaurant, worked as an apprentice for this guy. Through his help, he got the restaurant so renowned it got a Michelin star, and then he had a falling out with his mentor because he thought that from there they started to get so busy because everybody wanted to come to the restaurant that he pretty much left him with like a shitty restaurant, was his opinion. So they had this falling out, and now he's come to Australia, trying to find a place to set up this restaurant with his own vision. He can't find a place to actually build it for like 5 years, and then finally getting things underway and sort of getting to the point where he's sort of renowned throughout the local area and that kind of stuff. So really interesting stories. Also will make you hungry. Yeah, really enjoyable. Right, that's kind of it for what we've been watching this week.
To be fair, most of what I've watched relates to the later segment.
Well, we've been watching a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be discussed later. What did we end up watching?
Yeah.
We'll kick things off in the news segment, I guess.
The nudes?
The news segment.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry.
Kind of shocking news. Back on, I think, what was it, 28th? So about the time the last episode came out, the news broke that Chadwick Boseman, obviously the star of Black Panther, the Five Bloods, and 42, passed away at the age of 43. The actor's official Instagram account announced his passing of colon cancer. Chadwick was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016 and battled with it for the last 4 years as it progressed to stage 4. True fighter, Chadwick persevered through it all and brought you many of the films you have come to love so much. From Marshall to The Five Bloods, August Wilson's My Rainey's Black Bottom, and several more, all were filmed during and between countless surgeries and chemotherapy. He died in his home with his wife and family by his side. Very shocking news. Obviously, he has kept this condition very secret and very private. How did you find out about the news?
I was sitting here and I was about to leave for work and I had a couple minutes to spare, so I just finished doing something on my computer. I spun around, I picked up my phone, I quickly checked Twitter, and there it was. And then I had to go to work, and I was like, well, just thinking about that the whole drive, because I didn't have time to like read anymore before I left. I just quickly saw it on Twitter, and then I was like 20-minute drive to work. The whole time I'm thinking like, how? No. Is it fake? No. It was from E! News. That's not fake. It was, like...
Yeah, I had a similar sort of thing where I was just checking the news on a work computer quickly because it was quiet, and like the news alert popped up that Chadwick Boseman passed away. Yeah, super devastating, seeing as he pretty much has risen dramatically in the last 4 years, and to think that he performed a lot of the roles in which we know him for. Well, obviously Black Panther, the actual mainline film, while battling colon cancer is quite extraordinary and sort of adds to his legacy. Obviously, seeing a lot of the things people have been saying post. I think if you go to Marvel.com, Ryan Coogler put up a beautiful statement about the influence Chadwick had on the film behind the scenes and on the script.
The final line about when he takes... What the fuck is that character's name?
Killmonger.
What's the Killmonger, when he takes Killmonger out, and then Killmonger says, "Bear me out at sea where the slaves would rather..." I can't remember it quote for quote, but like where the slaves would rather jump free than be
shackled,
taken to be shackled by their masters or something like that. Which was one of the obviously standout lines from that movie because it was so kind of poetic and political, I guess, quote unquote, for a Marvel movie, and then to find out that that was him was. Yeah. Big.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah, so very sad. Was there anything you watched or want to go back to watch?
I didn't watch anything. I don't usually watch anything when anyone dies that I care for because I just don't like to. Like I mean like, and I mean that in the way of like, I have that thought of like, oh, maybe I should watch Black Panther, but it was kind of weird. I would like to say I was upset, like, which is always weird to say when you're talking about a celebrity, obviously, because it always sounds weird to be like, oh, I was upset by a celebrity death. But I'll definitely say I was upset that day. And anytime a celebrity's died that I have any feelings about, I kind of don't want to watch anything of them in it. Like, I don't want to upset myself more. I know obviously a lot of people. I think you watched something, didn't you?
Yeah, watched Draft Day. The
Yeah.
football film that he's in plays a middle linebacker, and there's good things happen to him in that film. So that was a good one to watch.
And I think that's obviously different. Different people deal with the way they want to. Yeah. No, I just prefer not to. I know, obviously, like in the past, like when people have like even people from bands, they listen to the music and stuff like that. And I just, I like, not to say like pretend it doesn't happen, but I just prefer not to upset myself more if I know I'm already feeling somewhat upset. Because obviously the thing with him is he was like young in respect for like his career, and he was only coming into what would have been his best years just now. Like he just entered the upcoming best years of his acting career, and it was all kind of kicking off, and he was doing all these great movies, and obviously Black Panther was for a group of people such a important movie. So it was one of those ones where you're like, well, we're all made of paper, and you never know,
Yeah.
It's one of those deaths where you're like, fuck. Like,
yes, I think that sums up fuck. So rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I guess moving on as much as you can move on from that. The Oscars are set to make a massive shakeup to Best Picture eligibility standards going up to 2024. Reading from Deadline, as promised when the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences announced its Academy Aperture 2025 initiative in June, new standards of representation and inclusion have been announced by the AMPAS today that will gradually be put in place for the 94th and 95th, which is the 2022 and 2023 Oscars, but in full effect beginning with the 96th Academy Awards in 2024. In its most dramatic swing towards true diversity, Oscar is laying down significant requirements in order to be eligible for Hollywood's most sought-after prize, Best Picture. Having at least one Asian, Hispanic, Latinx, Black, African American, Indigenous, Native American, Alaskan, Native, Middle Eastern, North African, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, or unspecified other underrepresented race or ethnicity as a lead or significant supporting actor is a potential new requirement under the new guidelines, with these ethnicities also mentioned for prominent production and marketing jobs. Additionally, employing women, LGBTQ+, members of a racial or ethnic group, and people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing, might be required for at least 30% of actors in secondary and minor roles, having a storyline centered on an underrepresented group, hiring creative leadership and department heads, maintaining 30% crew composition, paid internships, and a representation in marketing and distribution are also potential areas in order to be a Best Picture contender. Of course, producers don't have to meet all of the requirements of the new doctrine, just half. I would say this is a pretty bold move by the Academy to make this list of requirements to be eligible for Best Picture. I think, obviously, will, to a certain degree, make Hollywood make these changes. I mean, how do you feel about how do you feel about it reading it? Obviously, the diversity is obviously a great thing, but like such a sudden, well, not sudden, but such a big.
Well, I was saying, like, it's not really sudden if it's something that people have kind of been asking for many years now.
Well, there's a difference between asking and then like, hey, you have to follow these guidelines.
Yeah. I think when you boil it down, all of the possible negatives or possible things that people could say that this would bring up as, oh, this has gone too far, blah 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 blah. None of those anyone's going to be able to tell are true or not until we actually go through at least one or a couple of these Oscar processes with the new things in line. And as far as I'm concerned, what is probably just going to happen is it'll just prove to be a good thing, and then everyone will move on with their day. And I can guarantee that the only people who are really going to be upset about this are not actually aware of it until someone actually tells them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to cause an uproar until someone puts it under those sorts of Twitter mob outrage people, whatever. They're going to chuck a hissy fit over whatever cold. What do they say? Everything gone. I don't know what they say. Everything gone outrage. Whatever. Anyway, because they did not say if they could up the nominee count or not.
No.
Did they? Like, they could still.
There's nothing about the nominee count. It's just like criteria to be eligible.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing we find out is they like up the amount of nominees for everything by like 1 or 2.
Maybe. I don't think there's any rush or need to increase the amount of nominees.
I feel like that's the way to even the ground, though, for people who, you know, bring up these potential, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, okay, well, we'll increase them a little bit. You can now nominate a few more things, 2 more things, whatever. And then let's just get on with the day. And the thing with this is that in an ideal world, well, they have these rules for X amount of years. 10, 20 years, whatever, until the old fogies at the top of the chain kind of die out. Let's be real. And the idea is that eventually you reach a stage where you don't need to actually tell people to do this stuff because everyone just is voting more openly to everything. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like we're having the rules because time and time again, it's very obvious that certain groups of people in certain films are just kind of getting ignored.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I want to see it in practice, obviously. It'd be interesting to see what impact it has. I mean, I don't think doing this is going to guarantee that there's not going to be 5 white people in an acting category. Yeah. But, you know, we'll just see different kinds of films. I think when we're gonna run into trouble is if everyone's best picture for a year is not eligible because of whatever reason.
How would it not be eligible though? Like, it doesn't. Like, if a movie is made by only white dudes, it would still be eligible as long as you also nominate other stuff, right? Isn't that how the rules work?
No, so
like,
you have to hit a certain amount of criteria to be eligible for Best Picture.
I think there would have to be more asterisks in that. Because if you're an independent film that, like, for example, let's say a Paranormal Activity made for $5,000, and they're gonna be like, well, you didn't have this amount of, you know, certain people on the set. And you're like, well, 5 people made the movie, so you know what I mean? Like, there has to be. I reckon there has to be more leeway written into there to. Like,
well, with that, you just have one actor who's black, and then one. It says at least 2 of the following creative leadership positions are a woman, or whatever. So, casting director, cinematographer, composer, costume designer, director, editor, hairstylist, makeup artist, producer, production designer, set decorator, sound, visual effects, or writer are from one underrepresented group. If you do that, you're eligible. You get one. You get a B. They're calling it a standard B, and you need to have at least 2 of the 4 different standards to be eligible.
Which, for all movies with backing and money, should not be a problem to hire appropriately. But what I'm saying is, like, the indie movies who don't have the money potentially. Like, imagine Kevin Smith back in the day making Clerks. You know, maxing out his credit cards, just making it with his friends. I'm going to say there has to be leeway amongst all those rules for these random films who potentially just are unable to tick all the boxes. But I guess we'll find out. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know if a case like that will happen. And the other thing I'll say is that at the end of the day, the movie that's the best picture for the year is always just going to get nominated anyway. Like, that's the thing.
Not anymore.
Like, this. Why?
Because if it doesn't meet the criteria, then it won't be eligible.
But it's not going to be hard to meet the criteria. That's like, it's not. The criteria is pretty easy when you boil it down.
Yeah, potentially.
So it shouldn't be hard to meet, and then the best movie's still going to get nominated. I think it should be an issue. Like, it all sounds pretty easy to me. Like,
yeah. I guess we'll see. We'll see in 5 years' time how this all plays out. We're still doing this podcast.
Was you waiting for a comment on that? I was like, I wasn't going to curse. I wasn't going to curse ourselves by.
Yeah, just leave it at that.
Yeah. I'll knock wood.
Yeah. So we learned some news about the next series coming from the beloved creators of Game of Thrones, Benioff and Weiss.
Did you say beloved?
Beloved.
Okay. So
you can either take that seriously or you could take it sarcastically, depending on what you thought of Game of Thrones. So the next project will be an adaptation of The Three Body Problem, which is a series of novels written by Chinese author Li Cixin. So the synopsis I've got here is: set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution, a secret military project sends signals into space to establish contact with aliens. An alien civilization on the brink of destruction captures the signal and plans to invade Earth. Meanwhile on Earth, different camps start forming, planning to either welcome the superior beings and help them take over the world seen as corrupt, or fight against the invasion. The result is a science fiction masterpiece of enormous scope and vision. The series won the author a Hugo Award, so obviously very well-regarded source material. They've got a stacked group of executive producers behind the project, including Knives Out director Rian Johnson, Brad Pitt's Plan B Entertainment, and Gone Girl actress Rosamund Pike, and Robert Aniakis from Primitive Streak. Obviously the first project for Netflix. Is this capture your interest at all, or are you?
I don't know anything about the source material, and anytime I've tried to read a news story with a synopsis like you just read just then, I get very confused about what exactly the fuck is going on.
Yeah, it sounds like obviously a alien invasion series, maybe Game of Thrones, but with aliens.
Maybe. See, that's the problem. Maybe.
I know. I obviously be interested to see what they're going to do. Obviously, hearing this synopsis, my first question is: are they going to keep it set in China, like against that backdrop, or are they going to relocate it to America? What's your gut feeling?
They're going to relocate it to America. Come on.
Yeah, probably.
Prove me wrong.
But yeah, that's your Benioff and Weiss update on this episode. So look forward to that in who knows when, if ever. They haven't had a great track record of actually getting other projects off the ground, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so in a year where we get the Snyder Cut, and there's been so much push for certain director's cuts of things, I know there's one that you've been demanding on Twitter, posting all the time. Coming this December, you'll be getting a re-edit of The Godfather Part 3 from Francis Ford Coppola.
Wait, I thought this was a fake news story when I saw it. It's real?
It's real.
Oh my god. I actually thought it was fake.
No.
I actually scrolled past it. I thought it was fake.
Infamous for being the least well-received entry in the otherwise fantastic Godfather saga, this new Godfather 3 cut, which goes by the somewhat clunky title Mario Puzo's The Godfather, Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, is headed to theaters and digital platforms this December. Statement from Coppola himself. He says, with the film is an acknowledgement of Mario's and my preferred title and our original intentions for what became The Godfather Part 3. For this version of the finale, I created a new beginning and ending and rearranged some scenes and shots and music cues. With these changes and restored footage and sound, to me is a more appropriate conclusion to The Godfather and Godfather Part 2. And I'm thankful to Jim Giannopoulos and Paramount for allowing me to revisit. Now that you know that it's not a joke, what do you think? Is this is this the weirdest story of 2020 in a year of weird stories?
Why is this happening? I'm very confused. Oh, hold on. No, I found the answer. It says this is the 30 years after the film's initial run.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess that's the reason why they kicked
why
it
now?
into gear in the first. Why now? I guess is the thing. This is silly. This is this doesn't make sense. So you're gonna put this out. This is going to cinemas. You said
For a short time.
apparently.
Limited
Who
run.
the fuck is watching this?
Fans of The Godfather.
So here's the thing. Even if you were like, Dylan, Godfather Part 3 Director's Cut, do you want to watch that? And now I'm like, well, maybe, I guess. But the problem is I feel like I would have to rewatch the other films to even go into this, to have any say on watching it, you know?
Smart. People have to buy The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2 to
They're not going to do that, though, because who the fuck, this is what I'm saying. Who's watching this? Kids aren't going to watch this. And by kids, I mean, like, 18-year-olds. And but like, I don't understand. It's not like something that's fresh in people's minds. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Godfather Part 1 and 2 had a re-release recently, and then people are like, oh, yeah, those films are fresh in our mind. We'll go watch the third one now. This is so weird. It doesn't make any... No, I don't like this. Look, they should have just fucking sunk with their ship. They've sunk with the ship for 30 years that everyone thought The Godfather Part 3 was kind of the letdown of the trilogy, and they've lived with that for 30 years, and now they're like, well, we'll fucking change the music and they'll fix it. Will it, though? Will it? No, it won't. That's half the problem.
I mean, if he wants... This is what he wants to do with his time. I don't know that Francis Ford Coppola's been doing much recently.
No, he hasn't done nothing.
I know. Maybe they're going to do a cool box set. That's
Mario
the reason.
Puzo's The Godfather, Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone.
Yep.
Fuck me. What the fuck? Did you get that title from fucking Nomura over there making Kingdom Hearts? Jesus Christ. Mario Puzo's The Godfather, Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. Just when I thought they were out, they pulled me back in. That's a quote from the movie, in case you didn't.
Yeah. So coming to the cinemas later this year. Really interested to see that.
No, you're not going to watch that.
I know. I haven't. It might be a good time to revisit those films. I haven't seen them since probably like a decade. I feel like I was studying film. One of the requirements was to watch gangster films. It's like for one of the subjects. So you go-tos.
How the fuck was you studying film at one point and you still haven't watched half the good movies out there? How early did you drop out of that class?
It was like one per genre. So, that's like 6 films. And you get a grade.
Look.
And I'm here. So clearly I didn't do very well. Here's an interesting story. Grizzly 2 is set to be officially released 40 years after it entered production. Did you know there's a movie where a giant bear tries to kill Laura Dern, George Clooney, and Charlie Sheen during a music festival? If you're wondering how you never saw such a spectacle, there's a very good reason. It was never released. Grizzly 2, which went by 2 different titles, Grizzly 2 The Predator and Grizzly 2 The Concert, was filmed in 1983 in Hungary, but was never released. But that's about to change. If you go over to the Ringer, they've got a long article about the story of Grizzly 2. But now, in 2020, they're going to finally release the finished product. Apparently the producer's been working on it since back in the day, because the film was originally filmed in Austria during the Cold War. So obviously that was shut down pretty quick. But apparently they've got enough footage to put out a 5-minute film. It said about the edit. It also changes things around, so the now famous Sheen, Clooney, and Dern are made to have much bigger roles in the story. Apparently it's been screened to a test audience. And the producer signed a licensing agreement with distributor Gravitas Ventures, with plans to release the film on streaming and at drive-ins theaters this fall. So you can check out Grizzly 2 Revenge. There's a trailer out, including a 16-foot animatronic bear. Such a weird story. I had to include it.
I just looked at the poster. I'm sorry. Is this coming straight to Shutter? What the fuck?
I hope so.
It's a fucking... this poster. I just look up the poster. Grizzly 2 Revenge. It's got like the bear, and it's got like its paws up, and there's Charlie Sheen and George Clooney and Laura Dern, and I don't know. It looks like they're at a concert. Like they're at fucking...
Yeah, so the bear attack happens at some concert, like a music festival. So they're trying to stop the bear while keeping the music festival going, because they don't want to scare everybody away.
All hell breaks loose when a giant grizzly, reacting to the slaughter of grizzlies by poachers, attacks at a massive big rock concert in the national park. What the fuck? What is 2020? I can't handle it. What the fuck? Now I need to watch the first one, right? Yeah,
I guess so. Must watch.
Grizzly, just watch. Tell me where to watch it. Oh my god, there was years between these movies. The first one came out in 1976, and then the second one's supposed to come out in 1983. So it wasn't even a fast track sequel.
No,
the first one has a Metascore of 25. In case you were wondering how that old chestnut come together. The VHX box art for this sucker. Oh,
yeah. So that's available to stream on Prime Video right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Starring Christopher George, Andrew Pine.
Here's the description. It's 18 feet tall, over 2,000 pounds, and not content to forage through trash cans. When a killer grizzly terrorizes a state park rampaging for human prey, the ranger and his men must stop the ensuing slaughter. The most dangerous jaws on land. Grizzly was the highest grossing independent film of 1976 and remains a cult favorite today. Yeah, I'm fucking in, eh? Like, you've sold me. Godfather 3, get the fuck out. Grizzly 2, all about it.
That's the old film we want to watch.
There you go.
Grizzly 2, looking forward to that. Let's move into discussion about the Emmys. The 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards being hosted this year by Jimmy Kimmel in a year where there's kind of not going to be an audience or people interacting with each other. It's set to be the first completely virtual event. Apparently, Jimmy Kimmel will be host from a stage inside the Staples Center, but there'll be no red carpet or audience. Variety reported the award show executives and Kimmel sent out a letter informing nominees that the highly anticipated event will be virtual and asked stars to prepare to participate in the ceremony remotely. In their letter, it says, as you probably guessed, we're not going to be able to asking you to come to the Microsoft Theatre in downtown LA on September 20th. This year is going to be the TV industry's biggest night out, but we'll come to you. We're assembling a top-notch team of technicians, producers, writers to work closely with Jimmy Kimmel and with you and your team to make sure that we can film with you and loved ones or whoever else you choose to be with at your home or another location of your choice. We're going to make you look fabulous. We're exploring the cutting-edge technology to allow to use good cameras and lighting, and look forward to working with you to produce your unique on-screen moments. Are you actually looking forward to seeing how they pull this off? No?
No, I'm not. I can't say I can imagine it going well. Celebrities don't know. Celebrities, over Zoom?
Yeah.
You're telling me that's going to go well?
It sounds like it's not going to be over Zoom. It sounds like they're going to have 114 different camera crews.
Going to their houses, they're going to film them through the fucking front door?
Like, from 6 feet away. Like,
you know what it sounds like? This whole thing, it literally sounds like if you were 3-4 years ago to make a comedy film about a pandemic and then the celebrities still have to put on like an Oscars, this is what it would have been. I don't see it going well. I'm going to watch it, of course. Let's not play around. Of course I'm going to watch it, but I don't see it going well because I feel like if any of this relies along a lot of these people who I assume are just not good at anything without the help of someone, then they're going to be up shit creek. And I'm not saying all celebrities rely on slaves, but
wow, slaves?
Servants? What do you call them?
Assistants?
PAs? PAs? Depends how much they pay them if it's a slave or not. So they...
I think there's laws as to they're getting paid.
Probably, yeah. I feel like if any of it relies along them having to set stuff up themselves, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. So we'll get into our predictions for the awards this year. We've got our full list. If you want to play along, we've got our ballots from thegoldnight.com. You can go over there. They've got this handy dandy ballot you can fill out. So let's start down the bottom with directing for variety series. The nominees are A Black Lady sketch show for Born at Night but Not Last Night, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah for Dr. Fauci answers Trevor's questions about coronavirus, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, episode 629, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Live Show, Chris Christie, Nathaniel Ratliff, Saturday Night Live for host Eddie Murphy, and Tiffany Haddish presents They Ready, Flame Monroe. What did you pick for this category?
Last Week Tonight.
Last Week Tonight. Is that who you want to win, or who you think is going to win?
That's the only one I'd like to see win, and also probably the one I think is going to win, right? John Oliver usually does well in these things now, no?
Yeah, he does. He wins most of them.
Yeah, there you go.
I went for Saturday Night Live based on, in this category last year, they won the same category, the directing category.
Oh, you're cheating. I didn't look at last year's results.
No, well, some people are smart. Yes. So next category is writing for variety series. Nominees are The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Full Frontal with Sam B, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Late Night with Seth Meyers, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I went Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. I'm assuming you did the same.
Yes,
for writing. Yes.
I couldn't find it, and then I realized it was going right to left on the screen. But yes, that's good. Yes, last week with Tonight, John Oliver. Yep.
So next up, we've got variety sketch series. The nominees are A Black Lady sketch show, Drunk History, and Saturday Night Live. What'd you go with?
SNL.
Same. I feel like that's almost
Shoe-in.
The most safe. Well, that's actually, it probably isn't the most safe win of the night. But pretty close.
Drunk History is cancelled now, right?
Yes.
And I've never heard of a Black Lady sketch show. And I feel like when you say it in a sentence like that, it sounds really bad. Like I just have never looked outside the white guy sketch shows.
Terrible. But yeah, I mean, it's on HBO, so, Foxtel here, not an easy get. I don't know. Yeah, has been promoted here, so there you go. Then best variety talk series. The nominees are Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I've gone Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
I picked Trevor Noah for this one.
Ooh, bold.
Yes, I feel like I had to give Trevor Noah one, so I just went.
I would really like him to pick one up. Obviously, he's been doing some good work during this
COVID
pandemic
stuff,
as well. Yeah, I listened to his listen to the Daily Show, and it's a podcast now. It's the easy way to get it. Obviously, you lose some of like the visual gags, like the gags that pop up, like the photos and stuff, but still a good listen. Next category is Best Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or Movie. The nominees are Azu Abdullah for Mrs. America, Toni Collette for Unbelievable, Margot Martindale for Mrs. America, Jean Smart for Watchmen, Holland Taylor for Hollywood, and Tracy Ullman for Mrs. America. What'd you go with, Dylan?
Jean Smart from Watchmen.
Yeah, I also went Jean Smart with Watchmen. I think that's pretty safe. I don't know. I haven't watched Mrs. America Unbelievable, so. But Jean Smart was a pretty pivotal role in that series.
Yes.
In Watchmen, so.
In case you don't know, she played Silk Spectre, people.
Yeah. Spoilers. Then we've got Best Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or Movie. The nominees are Yaha Abdul-Mateen II for Watchmen, Jovan Apido for Watchmen, Titus Burgess for the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt movie. I forget doesn't have the full title.
It's the
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
It's the game movie. Netflix.
Kimmy versus the Reverend. Yes.
It's the choose your own narrative thing. Yeah.
Yes. Louis Gossett Jr. for Watchmen, Dilek McDermott for Hollywood, and Jim Parsons for Hollywood. I've gone Jim Parsons. I reckon all the Watchmen people will knock each other out. If it had been Tim Blake Nelson, he would have won. But no.
Want to guess who I picked?
Yaha Abdul-Mateen II.
Come on, of course it is. This isn't even a choice. What are you doing over there with Jim Parsons? What the fuck's wrong with you?
What? Hollywood was good. He was good in Hollywood.
I won't spoil what the reason I'm picking him, but there's a particular episode that I think. Yes.
Okay. Next up, we've got Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Movie. The nominees are Cate Blanchett for Mrs. America, Shira Haas for Unorthodox, Regina King for Watchmen, Octavia Spencer for Self-Made, inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker, and Kerry Washington for Little Fires Everywhere. I assume we've both gone Regina King.
Hell fucking yes.
I tell you what, if she picks this up, she's going to be glittered in awards. What did I read before? She won... Hang on. So she won the Oscar last year, and then she won Emmys the previous 2 years for a different limited series. That's a crazy record to have.
We stand a queen.
Okay.
Is that what the kids say?
That's what the kids say, I think. We old. Next up, we've got Best Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Movie. The nominees are Jeremy Irons for Watchmen, Hugh Jackman for Bad Education, Paul Mescal for Normal People, Jeremy Pope for Hollywood, and Mark Ruffalo for I Know This Much Is True. I've gone Paul Mescal. I heard a lot of good things about Normal People, and I think, a small up-and-comer. Pick it up. This category has been won by a lot of people who aren't established stars yet, so...
I think it should go to the up-and-coming Jeremy Irons, personally, but...
Really? Lead actor?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, he's really good, obviously, in Watchmen, so... Tough category. A lot of good options there.
Voting with my heart whenever I see the words Watchmen.
Well, okay. So next category is Best Directing in a Limited Series or Television Movie. The nominees are Little Fires Everywhere for Find a Way, Normal People for Episode 5, Unorthodox, the entire series because they're all directed by the same person, Watchmen, It's Summer and We're Running Out of Ice, Watchmen, Little Fear of Lightning, and Watchmen, The Extraordinary Being. Dylan, which episode of Watchmen did you predict?
This was a hard day in hell when I had to make this choice. But I went with It's Summer and We're Running Out of Ice, which is the first episode, just because I feel like that first episode is just kind of perfectly paced to set up the rest of it. Like, it goes so fast and goes over so much ground. I just think it's great. Yeah.
I also went with that episode. It was a tight pick between those three, obviously. But that is the one that won the Directors Guild of America award earlier this year.
If I had to pick a runner-up, I would have given it to Little Fear of Lightning, which is of the bottle episode, almost.
That's like, the Looking Glass one?
It's the flashback one.
Oh, that's the Hooded Justice one?
Yeah.
Cool. So next up, writing for a limited series. Nominees are Mrs. America for Shirley, Normal People for episode 3, Unbelievable for episode 1, Unorthodox for part 1, and Watchmen for This Extraordinary Being. I'm assuming we both went for Watchmen this category.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty safe. Safe bet. Next up, we've got Best Television Movie. The nominees are American Son, Bad Education, Dolly Parton's Heartstrings, These Old Bones, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend. What did you go in this category?
Bad Education.
Yes, I also went with Bad Education. I definitely have to get around to watching that.
Same. But I know it's got Hugh Jackman in it, so...
Well, the talk was that people wanted to be eligible for the Oscars this year.
Ooh.
Even though it was on television.
Oh, no. Not television.
Oh, no. Yeah, I have to settle for winning an Emmy Award, I guess. And in probably the most foregone conclusions categories this year, Best Limited Series, nominees are Little Fires Everywhere, Mrs. America, Unbelievable, Unorthodox, and Watchmen. Dylan, what will you do if Watchmen doesn't win Best Limited Series?
I'm going to kill someone.
Heard it here first. But yes, I'm assuming we both predicted that one.
Yes, I certainly did.
Yeah.
I'm not predicting. I am picking.
Picking. All right. Next up, we've got Best Directing for a Drama Series. The nominees are The Crown for Aberfan, The Crown for Creed to Cure, Homeland's Prisoners of War, The Morning Show, The Interview, Ozark, Fire Pink, Ozark, Sukasa es Mikasa, Succession for Hunting, and Succession, This Is Not for Tears. What did you predict in this one?
I rolled a dice on Succession, and it landed on Hunting.
Well, I've gone the other one.
Okay.
This Is Not for Tears, which is the season finale. I think Hunting the premiere episodes? Can't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, next up is Best Writing in a Drama Series. The nominees are Best Better Call Saul, Bad Choice Road, Better Call Saul, Bagman, The Crown for Aberfan, Ozark All In, Ozark Boss Fight, Ozark Fire Pink, and Succession, This Is Not for Tears. I've picked Succession to go 2 in a row for writing with This Is Not for Tears. What did you think, Dylan?
I picked Better Call Saul, Bagman, one of the best hours of TV you will watch in your life.
Okay.
Fuck the Emmys, you know? Fuck the Emmys.
Next up, we've got Best Directing for a Comedy. The nominees are The Great for The Great, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for It's Comedy or Cabbage, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for Marvelous Radio, Modern Family Finale Part 2, Rami, Mia Khalifa Move, or Mov, M-O-V. How do you pronounce it?
I don't know. Mov? Yeah, sure.
Mov, yeah. Doesn't matter. Schitt's Creek Happy Ending, Will and Grace, We Love Lucy. Which one have you gone here?
Marvelous Miss Maisel, It's Comedy or Cabbage.
Okay. I've gone Schitt's Creek Happy Ending. You think? 'Cause it's got to be a happy ending. It's going to be nice. And then we've got writing comedy. Best writing for a comedy series. Nominees are The Good Place, Whenever You're Ready, The Greats, Schitt's Creek, Happy Ending, Schitt's Creek, The Presidential Suite, What We Do in the Shadows Collaboration, What We Do in the Shadows Ghosts, and What We Do in the Shadows On the Run. I've gone with The Great, obviously written by Tony McNamara, which I think he picked up the Oscar for The Favourite, so hedging my bets here. Although I would love for The Good Place to pick this up. So I thought really well-written finale to that series, which you can watch. They released the table read of the finale, like the entire thing, on the Good Place YouTube, so you can check that out.
Do you know I still haven't watched that?
What?
I still have like 4 episodes left. I haven't seen it through. So in my world, I'm still living in a world where that show hasn't finished. Look, it's so good, Ash. I didn't want it to end.
No, I understand. Yeah, that's okay. I get it.
And I nearly put it on overnight, and I was like, nah. Because it just sits there in my list staring at me.
Unbelievable. The self-control. Incredible.
Yeah. I picked What We Do in the Shadows Ghosts, because I was like, they've got 3, so I'll hedge my bets on one of those, and then I flick the dice.
Yep.
Heads, tails, or landing on its side, and that's what I got.
Yep. Let's go. Best competition program. The nominees are The Masked Singer, Nailed It, RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, and The Voice. What have you gone, Dylan?
Top Chef.
I've gone with RuPaul's Drag Race. Last year's, this was going for 3 in a row. So, now we go to Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. The nominees are Helena Bonham Carter for The Crown, Laura Dern for Big Little Lies, Julia Garner for Ozark, Thandie Newton for Westworld, Fiona Shaw for Killing Eve, Sarah Snook for Succession, Meryl Streep for Big Little Lies, and Samira Wiley for The Handmaid's Tale. I've gone with Sarah Snook for Succession.
I went with Meryl Streep for Big Little Lies.
Yeah, big name. Hard to go past.
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. The nominees are Nicholas Braun for Succession, Billy Crudup for The Morning Show, Kieran Culkin for Succession, Mark Duplass for The Morning Show, Giancarlo Esposito for Better Call Saul, Matthew McFadden for Succession, Bradley Whitford for Handmaid's Tale, and Jeffrey Wright for Westworld. Dylan, what have you got?
Kieran Culkin, Succession.
I've also picked Kieran Culkin, Succession. So, yeah, hopefully that asshole wins.
It'll be funny to see him up there accepting an award, to be honest.
I mean, it would be funnier if it was in front of a crowd, but...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Instead, it's going to be a Zoom call.
Yeah. Rip. All the Cheers winners don't even get real award ceremonies. Lol.
Yeah, they're probably not going to get the Holden Emmy.
Yeah,
you think about
sucks. Yeah.
Unless they have like 114 Emmys out there just to...
They hire
like
Amazon to drop... They team up with Amazon to get drones to drop on people.
A ton of drones, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do Best Supporting Actress for a Comedy Series. The nominees are Alex Bornstein for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Darcy Carden for The Good Place, Betty Gilpin for Glow, Marion Hinkle for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Kate McKinnon for Saturday Night Live, Annie Murphy for Schitt's Creek, Yvonne Origi for Insecure, Cecily Strong for Saturday Night Live. I went with my heart on this one and went Darcy Carden for The Good Place.
Alex Bornstein, Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. Again, I think she's going for 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So, Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. The nominees are Mahershala Ali for Rami, Alan Arkin for Kaminsky Method, Andre Braugher for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Sterling K. Brown for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, William Jackson Harper for The Good Place, Dan Levy for Schitt's Creek, Tony Shalhoub for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Kenan Thompson for Saturday Night Live. What have you gone in this one, Dylan?
Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, I've also gone Tony Shalhoub. Who's your second pick?
I didn't have it in, but I reckon I would have gone Dan Levy.
I feel like William Jackson Harker, I'd love him to win it. I think he was really good in this last season.
Yeah, you're voting with your heart again, see?
No, because I didn't pick him, so...
No, but with your second pick, you are.
The second pick I am, yeah. Go to lead actress in a drama series. The nominees are Jennifer Aniston for The Morning Show, Olivia Colman for The Crown, Jodie Comer for Killing Eve, Laura Linney for Ozark, Sandra Oh for Killing Eve, and Zendaya for Euphoria. I've gone Olivia Colman for The Crown because Olivia Colman kind of wins everything at the moment.
Rhea Seehorn for Better Call Saul, I picked.
Right in.
Right in, yeah. If they don't accept that, I've put a secondary vote in of Zendaya for Euphoria.
Bold choice.
She deserves it.
Lead actor in a drama series, the nominees are Jason Bateman for Ozark, Sterling K. Brown for This Is Us, Steve Carell for The Morning Show, Brian Cox for Succession, Billy Porter for Pose, and Jeremy Strong for Succession. What have you gone in this category?
That prick, Jeremy Strong.
I've also gone Jeremy Strong. So,
and by that prick, sorry, Jeremy, I mean your character, not the actual actor.
Your character. Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty good.
Need to go back and catch up on Succession. I mean,
yeah, definitely. How much of that have you watched? Like 2 episodes?
No, I watched a couple more. I think
talked about last year.
I watched a few more. I think after that, but I mean, I see it come up on my Twitter timeline all the time, and I just see a clip of it, and I go, "Yeah, so he's still a cunt, hey?"
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe. If you want to hear us talk about it, you can go back and listen to episode.
How fast can you find that answer? Half of this. What episode's this?
Episode 41.
Oh, there you go.
Who was going to win at the Emmys 2019? We talk about that one there.
Do the same shit year in, year out.
I know. Hacks. Let's move on to Best Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. The nominees are Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Maisel, Linda Cardellini for Dead to Me, Catherine O'Hara for Schitt's Creek, Issa Rae for Insecure, and Tracy Ellis Ross for Blackish. I've gone Issa Rae for Insecure. I feel like it's had a strong year. Got a lot of attention, apparently, for all the nominations it got this year, so go that.
I just felt like I went with a semi-safe one at Rachel Brosnahan for Marvelous Miss Maisel. I would love to see Linda Cardellini win this. I know she won't, but fuck, that would be great.
Over Christina Applegate.
Yeah, I know. It ain't gonna happen. But I'm just saying.
I mean, you never know.
No, have you watched that 3rd season? You haven't started that show, have you?
I haven't started that show.
Okay.
Oh no, I've watched 1 episode.
Watched one. Yeah. So I just think I'm a sucker for that show at the moment. I think it's kind of a hidden gem. More people should watch Dead to Me.
Yeah. Then Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. The nominees are Anthony Anderson for Blackish, Don Cheadle for Black Monday, Ted Danson for The Good Place, Michael Douglas for The Kaminsky Method, Eugene Levy for Schitt's Creek, and Rami Youssef for Rami. What'd you go with here, Dylan?
I think I flew up to the win. I went Eugene Levy for Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I went with Rami Youssef for Rami.
Oh, okay, no.
What?
I thought he was going to say Ted Danson.
I was tossed. There's a close second. I mean,
Okay.
and even Eugene Levy, I think, was the top 3. So, but Rami coming off the Golden Globes win. Maybe more people checked it out during the pandemic. We'll see. I haven't actually watched the show, so should probably get around to that. All right, let's move into the big ones. Best Drama Series. The nominees are Better Call Saul, The Crown, Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, The Mandalorian, Ozark, Stranger Things, and Succession. I've gone Succession. What did you have?
Better Call Saul. What do you mean going with my heart? Get out of here. It's heart and soul, Ash. Better Call Saul.
Heart and brain. You mean?
Yes, that's it.
We'll see. And then Best Comedy Series. The nominees are Curb Your Enthusiasm, Dead to Me, The Good Place, Insecure, The Kaminsky Method, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Schitt's Creek, and What We Do in the Shadows. Have you gone safe on this one as well?
I went Marvelous Miss Maisel. Yeah.
I also went Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's a bit of a letdown. Probably should have switched those categories around to end on a bit of a
That's fine.
divisive note, but
It's not the end of the show. We've got more to go.
there is more to come. But of course, tune in next episode to find out who wins this predictions. Of course, same rules as last time. The winner gets to pick something for the loser to watch. So Dylan, get ready to boot up. The first 2 episodes are limitless. It's going to be great.
Fuck off.
All right, that brings us to what do we end up watching? Dylan, we watched a lot of things for this episode. What do you want to talk? Which of these things do you want to talk about first?
I feel like we should talk about Schitt's Creek first. I feel like that's the one we've both watched the most.
There are people here from the government.
Baby, it's crazy. People are just like taking our stuff.
Leave your finances to me, said son of a bitch.
There's a very small amount set aside for you, and one asset the government has allowed you to retain.
The kids.
The children are dependents, Moira. You bought a small town in 1991.
I bought that as a joke for my son.
You can live there for next to nothing until you get back on your feet. Johnny Rhodes.
Rolling shit.
Oh, you're the mayor we're supposed to meet.
That's right. So if you're looking for an ass to kiss, it's mine.
You have a couple of sweets.
This guy. This is a motel, so we cater more to off-road truckers and drunk teenagers.
This place is a dump. It's
tried.
a dump. You know what? It's a hellhole.
This wine is awful. Give me another glass.
God, we haven't been close.
I don't want to be just written off as some gorgeous airhead, you know?
This is my town, and you're gonna play by my rules now. I'm just messing with you, man. Or am I?
Yes, Schitt's Creek released in 2015. Specifically, the debut episode is called Our Cup Runneth Over, written by Dan Levy, directed by Cherie Henriques, starring Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Dan Levy, and Annie Murphy, Jennifer Robertson, Tim Rosen, Emily Hampshire, and Chris Elliott, the wealthy Rose family, with business magnate Johnny, his wife, and former soap opera actress Moira, and their spoiled adult children David and Alexis, lose their fortune after being defrauded by their business manager. They are forced to build their lives with their sole remaining asset, a small town called Schitt's Creek, which Johnny bought for David as a joke birthday gift in 1991. The Roses relocate to Schitt's Creek, moving into 2 adjacent rooms and a rundown motel. As the family adjusts to their new lives, their well-to-do attitudes coming into conflict with the more provincial residents of Schitt's Creek, including the mayor, Roland Schitt, his wife Jocelyn, and the motel's manager, Stevie Budd. So I think I've watched a season and a bit. I think you've done pretty similar.
I've watched 1 episode of season 2, I think. So basically 1 season, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've watched 1 extra episode, but what'd you think, Dylan? Your initial impressions of what you thought? You're like, it's a 1 joke show, a thing to watch in the background.
I mean, I don't think it's I think the jokes are good. I still think it's a good watch in the back, like a multitask show, because I feel like I'm not going to miss a joke in the background. The jokes are usually very audible or straight up. Like, I'm not going to miss something in the background. Like, it's not a very nuanced show. And I'm not using that as like a put down. It's just straight up humor with its joke. I'm very confused about this show because I honestly feel like I only realized it existed like 6 months ago. I don't think I'd ever even heard of it before then. Like
it was nominated last year.
Okay, so maybe that's why it just came. I'd never paid any attention. And like that thing is like, oh, Pop TV in America. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the hell's Pop TV? Is that channel? You know, like
yeah,
but it's
it used to be the TV Guide channel.
Okay,
like the when you'd push the button and the TV Guide would come up on a channel, like streaming all day, like instead of like the electronic things we've got now.
The fuck,
America, the they've got so many channels. It's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Anyway, it's a Netflix show here.
Yep.
So it makes it confusing. Another thing that stands out to me is the fact that it's a dad and son affair, right? That's Dan Levy. And
Yes. So, from what I understand, Dan Levy, who's worked on like MTV and stuff as a presenter, trying to break into Hollywood, obviously came up with the idea for the show, developed it further with his famous father, Eugene Levy, who we all know from countless
American
comedies.
Pie, most
specifically
notably.
probably American Pie, yeah. And then obviously they sold it to whatever company in Canada, and then they on-sold it to Pop TV in America.
Yeah. But no, I would say it's not usually my type of show because it's a 20-minute what do you call these type of content? It's like a
Sitcom.
Yeah, it's like a sitcom. That's the word. Yeah. So it's like a 20-minute sitcom, which usually isn't my type of thing, but simply because I do find that the running joke, they usually use a lot of the same running jokes, and they usually run dry pretty fast. But obviously, I watched a season of this, and so far, I'm going to probably go back and continue watching it because I am finding it quite funny, and which is I think the weirdest thing about this show is because the setup is that it's about this really rich family who get they lose all their money because of was it the business manager like fucks them over or something?
Fucked them over,
explanation, and that's how the first episode starts. But the characters are horrible, and by that I mean they're just rich, ex-rich, kind of pompous
They're like,
assholes.
the people you'd expect to see on Real Housewives or
Yes.
any of those type of shows.
Yeah, and it's like, but they somehow ride a fine line of not being so assholey richy enough that you hate them. I feel like there's a very fine line to the point they would just kind of become annoying, but you're kind of laughing with them for a lot of time, and even the couple times, and you never see them do anything too nasty. I feel like that's the defining feature of a show. Like they're not like they're mean to poor people, quote unquote poor people in the show, like around Schitt's Creek. They're poor, really. So that's the funny thing about it, of course. But they make some jokes and gags here and there, but it's never too nasty. You know what I mean? Like to the point that it would become kind of make them into villains and you wouldn't enjoy watching them. I'd say the only character after a season I'm not particularly, and not to the point that I don't enjoy watching their stuff, it's just the least interesting was the sister. What's her name? Alexis. I feel like she's my least favorite. I think in order, I'd probably say the mother, Moira, is the most fun to watch. She's hilarious. And then I'd put Dan Levy's character as my second favorite, and then the dad's good as well. But yeah, I feel like the sister, and maybe that improves in subsequent seasons. I don't know yet, but so far her storyline in the first season, which revolves mostly around romance interest, wasn't as interesting as even David's romance interest. That was a lot more interesting for obvious reasons. I don't know how much we can spoil. I mean, the show's up to season 6. I don't know, but like whatever. But
yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I'm probably going to power through and watch all of it. I suspect, especially because from the sound of it, it gets better as it goes along. Obviously, it's gotten all this acclaim in its final 2 seasons. So, yeah, everybody's really great. Moira is hilarious. I don't know why she's got so many wigs. It's not made. There's a lot of things that aren't revealed like straight away about the characters. Like what business was? Yeah. Well, I know what kind of business the father was working in that he sold, but that's never revealed. It isn't revealed till like 4 or 5 episodes in that Moira used to be a soap actress.
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed. The only thing is, I feel really uncomfortable, especially the first episodes with Roiland. It's just like that awkward, super awkward feeling you get. The mayor,
right,
played by Chris Elliott. Yep, he just makes things super awkward. That's like uncomfortable.
I think that's the idea, especially in the first episode when he's literally just sitting in their hotel room when they arrive, and he will not leave.
Yeah. And then he goes and uses the bathroom.
Yep. That's uncomfortable for everyone.
That's very uncomfortable.
Involved,
But yeah, there's a lot of heart there, obviously. Some really good gags and stuff. So yeah, really enjoying it. more than I was
Yeah,
expecting.
I mean, and I'll say this because fuck it, like it's one season. I feel like I want to spoil one thing from the first season. I think the reason that I would look forward to watching it more going forward is because I guess as I approach the end of the first season, I was like, okay, this show may be starting to hit more of a one-note affair. It then starts to actually introduce some potentially heartfelt upcoming story notes, especially when it comes between David's romance he has going with Stevie by the end of the first season, and that introduced some actual emotion and teases some actual character growth that's upcoming, because I feel like for a lot of the first season it is just, which is fine, joke, but I'm like, okay, so now we're coming into season 2 up to season 6, I can see this show moving these characters into actual growing them out of just the one note sort of affairs that would have run dry pretty quickly.
Yeah. And also Eugene Levy, he's so funny. Like, just the inflections in his voice at times.
Yeah, there's an episode where he fucking steals that car in the first season. Or was that second season? I can't even remember now.
No, that was the first season where
that's great.
I want to take it for a test drive.
He's like, I'm going to take it for a test drive. It's like, okay, well, I'll come with you. He's like, no, I'm Guy. I'll just take it with you. It's like, well, okay, well, don't take it on the highway. Why would I take it on the highway? Off he goes to the highway.
All right. So I figure if we talked about Schitt's Creek, we might as well discuss the other comedy that we watched, What We Do in the Shadows.
Nadja, Laszlo!
Yeah.
Yes? Can you come downstairs for a second, please?
The problems with living with other vampires are the vampires I have chosen to stay with.
I wanted to talk about general hygiene in the cell. Last night, there were all these people down there, half drunk.
Well, where did they find the alcohol?
No, they were half drunk. They'd been half drunk.
If you've got something to say, then damn well say it.
It's not hygienic!
Nandor is like a big turkey.
Cannot pay with that.
I'm so sorry. Sir, you can't be throwing ancient coins at me.
Guillermo,
The credit card's
stab this
fine.
man. Guillermo is my familia.
I'm not a killer. I find people who are easy to kill.
Are you virgins? I don't see how that's relevant.
Yep, so What We Do in the Shadows, debuting 2019 with the first episode pilot, written by Jermaine Clement, directed by Taika Waititi, starring Kevin Novak, Matt Berry, Natasha Demetrio, Harvey Guillén, and Mark Proschk. Set in Staten Island, What We Do in the Shadows follows the lives of 3 traditional vampires, Nandor, Laszlo, and Nadja, Colin Robinson, an energy vampire, and Gilmiro.
Got it.
Nandor's familiar. The series revolves around the centuries-old vampires interacting with the modern world and other supernatural beings. So I ended up watching about 4 episodes of this. First thing out of the gate, really happy that they were able to reuse the theme song from the actual movie. Because it fits perfectly and it's great. And I never skip it. I just listen to the entire thing because it's great. I think it works. Obviously, we all talked about What We Do in the Shadows a few episodes ago, how great that movie is, how much we love it. They seem to have been able to recapture the magic to a certain degree here. Of course, at the start, I was like, oh, this Nandor person's doing a Taika Waititi impersonation, because the accent is very similar and some of the attitude and that kind of thing, but I feel like they're all very different to a degree to the characters that we met in the film. So there's some, of course, the energy vampire is a completely new element that's thrown in that is good for a few laughs and that kind of thing. So yeah, what are your thoughts so far? How many episodes have you watched?
I watched the entire first season. Yeah, this is really good. Which is this is a tale because I think, as I said when we discussed the movie, the reason I wasn't excited for the show when it was announced was because I'm like, oh, they're just gonna. I thought and kind of assumed that it was just gonna do like a remake or a rework of the movie for a television format, and like
we're all justified. We've seen the number of different Americanized remakes that have ruined things.
And I'll say that I do agree. As the first episode starts, you can see that there's obviously there's a character type, especially with that Nandor character. That's the character, Nandor. That is very similar to obviously Taika Waititi's character in original movie. I think by the time I reach the end of the season, it grows out of that. It's similar, but I could put them side by side and kind of pinpoint certain differences that I've seen them have, like they don't stand out. The standout in the show to me though is Matt Berry and Natasha Dementi. I don't know how to say her last name. I'm so sorry, but she plays Naja, right? So they're a couple.
Yep. Laszlo and Naja.
Yep. And Matt Berry's literally just playing the character he plays in the IT Crowd, but as a vampire. So if you like that show and you like Matt Berry playing that character in IT Crowd, here it is again. Here's Matt Berry being Matt Berry, but as a vampire, and it actually works quite well. And those two have such great back and forth chemistry throughout this entire season. It's probably my favorite part of the show. And I even love Colin as it's so great just having a vampire, introduce a vampire who feeds off. Well, the key points is energy vampires are day walkers, so he can go out during the day. He has a day job at an office, and there's one episode, I don't know if you've seen it or not yet. There's one episode where he has he gets a girlfriend for an episode, and she's an
emotional
vampire, and basically it's two vampires in an office space just trying to either bore people to death, which is what he does to feed off people, and she tells people stories to try and make them cry. Sad. And that's how she feeds off people, and that makes for something on an episode. But no, I think it's great. Obviously, it kind of takes. There's one episode that reminds me that kind of does a similar thing to the movie as well, where they take out they've got a really old vampire living in there, called the Baron, living in there. Cellar or whatever you want to call it. They do a out on the town spree with him in one episode towards the end of the season, which reminded me of the town sequence from the movie, of course. And that some of the jokes remain still funny, like the fact that they walk up to several places and they're like, "Can you invite us in?" Yeah, no, you have to invite us. The exact same stuff from the movie, but. It kind of expands on the lore from the movie as well, because it introduces new types of vampires and whatever else. And there's cameos from the originals in one episode in the first season, so have that to look forward to. So it's a building upon the universe of what we do in the shadow. So they do actually make an appearance, which is quite funny. But no, I think it's really good. It's surprising how good it is. I suppose that's credit to having Jermaine Clement be the showrunner, and then also having Taika Waititi
involved,
coming in and writing and directing, and at least on board as a producer, obviously. So no, I actually think it's really, really good. It's like, if you like What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, here's more of that. And it's funny because one of the criticisms I'd give the movie, as much as I like it, is it kind of works. It kind of works better as a TV show, I think. Like 30-minute, these 30-minute episodes kind of suits it better.
The mockumentary style a bit more, rather than stretch it out. Obviously, a bit more.
And
piece by piece.
They break the. I mean, not that it really matters, but there's several times in a TV show where you're like, why is there a camera crew here? It doesn't matter, but the fact that what's her name, Bernie
Feldstein.
Bernie Feldstein plays a character in the first season.
I love that the virgins that Guillermo finds are live action role players.
Yep, LARPers. Love it. But she's involved. She has one episode where one episode starts and there's a camera crew in a room or whatever, and you're like, why?
Why?
Yeah,
and in that she looks dead. They're just filming.
They just film her. It's fine.
It's all good. Yeah, so really good What We Do in the Shadows. What do you want to talk about next, Dylan?
Well, I'm at this stage save my favourite for last, I guess. So go with Unorthodox.
You escaped, didn't you?
You make it sound like I was in prison.
Weren't you?
No, but I left without telling anyone.
Why did you leave?
God expected too much of me.
Der Schatten hat ungetrogen Emetsen.
Was für ein Bucher ist er?
Ihr ist wie jeden einem, geherig.
Ich bin anders wie die anderen Mädchen.
Anders ist es.
Where I come from, there are many rules.
Und es ist da eine heilige Pflicht, sie mit keinem anderen Ruf nach Chef. My family just cares that I'm a good wife and mother. I had to get as far as possible for my community. So, will you help me?
Unorthodox, released this year, 2019, with part 1, which was written by Anna Winger, directed by Maria Schrader, starring Shira Haas, Amit Rahav, Jeff Wilbush, Alex Reed, Ronit Ashir, Gira Sandler, Dina Doran, and Aaron Alterus. Esty, a 19-year-old Jewish woman, is living unhappily in an arranged marriage among an ultra-Orthodox community in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York City. She runs away to Berlin, where her estranged mother lives, and tries to navigate a secular life, discovering life outside her community and rejecting all of the beliefs she grew up with. Her husband, who learns that she's pregnant, travels to Berlin with his cousin by order of their rabbi to try and find her. Dylan, what did you think of this one? This is the limited series. I only watched one episode of this. I think you only watched one episode.
I've only watched part 1 as well.
Yeah.
I will be going back to finish it because I did like it though. And obviously it's only 4 parts, so it's not too much of an ask. It's like 3.5 hours all up or something.
Yep.
I think when you read the synopsis, it sounds like it could be a parody of something, but it's in fact based on a true story. Inspired by
based on a true story,
memoir or whatever. So that's makes it stand out. And especially when the show starts, like just I guess it's because you don't see it presented in movies or TV. Like the show starts in this very the neighborhood where this Jewish community live, I guess, and it almost seems fantasy like. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem real. Like
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. It's just something completely out of my wheelhouse, I guess. But yeah, no, it's kind of intense, I guess, is the way I'd sum up the first episode. You have this young girl who, and the first 10 minutes of the episode start with her kind of rushing around and she's trying to get somewhere, and it cuts in between that to her husband's at like a family dinner, and they're like, well, why isn't she here? And then he goes looking for her, and she's trying to rush around, and even in the cab she's like kind of trying to cover her face to get out of this neighborhood and make it to the airport so she can get out, and then she goes off to Berlin. But then, and that's kind of, because I went into this barely knowing anything other than the fact that it was nominated, so I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then when she gets to Berlin, you get introduced to this, obviously she's looking around and it's just so different. Like I think it's like going outside that neighborhood, all of a sudden there's seems more freeing of an environment. Obviously I think it's just the way it's kind of shot. Even I was feeling the way the characters feeling at the time, where it's just so much of a sweeping of emotions, I guess. And I think one of the more beautiful moments in the first episode is when they go to a beach. She meets, I don't want to spoil too much, but she meets these characters who invite her to a beach basically. And then she goes into the water and she takes off her wig, and kind of, obviously the way it's shot, supposed to be this kind of washing away of her being born anew, almost kind of.
Yeah, like a
shot.
A baptism almost.
Baptism almost, yeah. But I'm really intrigued. I think so far it's just kind of, I don't know how the fuck, like I know obviously the end of the first episode, you know, her husband and cousin, I think it is, coming to try and find her. Just the whole concept seems so fucking insane, and the idea that it's based on a true story is just, you're like, wow, what the hell's going to happen? And I don't want to look up, obviously. I'll sit through and I'll watch it myself. But no, I'm going to go back and watch the rest for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I liked it. I'm not sure I'm going to go back and watch all of it. It's like super intense and kind of uncomfortable at certain points. Like,
yeah, but that's the idea.
It's a very awkward character. I know. I did kind of read ahead, and it's like, I don't know if I want to watch that. You know, obviously seeing why she's in this loveless marriage, and you know, why she would run away from everyone and everything she's known. So, but yeah, I obviously really good shot, well acted, but yeah, very uncomfortable and hard to watch. I
mean, it's an uncomfortable story.
So it's an uncomfortable story. So, I mean, of course, it's meant to be uncomfortable. But yeah, obviously having a look at this lifestyle that is very different,
alien to anything we know,
us, or has been portrayed in a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, you do see the occasional Hasidic Jewish person in a different series, and it's like mostly like a joke or something.
Yeah, Banshee.
Yeah, the Amish in that.
That's the most. That is literally the show I've seen the most Amish people represented. Opposite to a Weird Al Yankovic music video.
So yeah, that's Unorthodox. Again, 4 episodes on Netflix. All right, let's move on to your prediction for the best drama series this year. Better Call Saul.
It's showtime, folks. I don't go looking for guilty people to represent.
Your Honor, I'll never do it again.
I told you suit, remember? That's a loaner, okay? I need it back. I mean, who needs that aggravation, right? The hell kind of math is that?
700 per defense.
The money is beside the point. Here's John! Money is not beside the point. Money is the point. The day of reckoning is here. It'll be a cold day in hell before I do any more PD work for this shitty court. I was in that court back there, saving people's lives.
Thank you for restoring my faith in the judicial system. Now you either pay the $3 or you get an additional sticker.
Son of a bitch. Employee of the month over here! Yeah!
Better Call Saul debuted 2015 with the episode Uno, written by Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, directed by Vince Gilligan, starring Bob Odenkirk, Jonathan Banks, Rhea Seaborn, Patrick Fabian, Michael Mando, Michael McKean, Giancarlo Esposito, Tony Dalton. Ex-con artist Jimmy McGill turns into a small-time attorney and goes through a series of trials and tragedies as he transforms into his alter ego Saul Goodman and a morally challenged criminal lawyer. I think we've discussed before, I've never watched Breaking Bad. This is the first experience I've had in the Breaking Bad universe. And clearly, I'm missing some bits. Obviously, there's bits in this first episode that would have more significance to people who've watched Breaking Bad. Episode opens with, I'm assuming, Jimmy after the events of Breaking Bad. Shot completely in black and white in like a super sad opening. Before flashing back to, I think, 2001, 2002, I think I read up, is about the time frame this set up. I liked it. It was good. Jimmy is obviously an interesting...
You were scaring me there for a hot second.
Interesting character. Interesting case to open up with. That entire scene was very well put together, of Jimmy giving his full defense and then the opposition lawyer putting in a videotape and pretty much sealing the deal there. Obviously, cameo from the first appearance of Jonathan Banks, so I know is a Breaking Bad character. And then kind of seeing all of Jimmy's world, I guess, and I don't know how much of that was known to people before, like all the stuff with
none of it.
HHM.
None of
that.
No.
None of it. Did you know about his brother? I did. Well,
No,
you couldn't
didn't
tell
know
from this
his
episode,
brother.
but his brother, you didn't know any of that.
No.
That's interesting because he's got some sort of disease or condition that requires him to be completely
so he's
free of electromagnetic
his brother
stuff.
Yeah, his brother has forms a condition where he's afraid of or thinks that electricity is going to kill him, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And then obviously he tries to pull off some sort of con. Towards the end of the episode that goes awry and he ends up with somebody else I'm assuming is important to Breaking Bad at the end of the episode. So
See, here's the things. I think everything that you say is like a wink and a nod for Breaking Bad fans. You're right, but I would also say that you don't actually need to know who they are for the core story to work. Like, so
No,
so
that's
you're
true.
saying
That's true.
So you're like, that opening scene, you're like, obviously this is set up before. He's very sad. You get the sense that he's scared. He's sitting at home watching tapes of his good old years. You don't need to have watched Breaking Bad to understand what that scene sets.
What that meant,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that works. Obviously, when you see Jonathan Banks, you're like, if you're a Breaking Bad fan, you're like, oh, there he is. Let's go. But you don't need to know who he is to get excited. Like his character will grow on his own, even if you didn't know he was a Breaking Bad character. And the closing shot of this episode, I can't remember the character's name, but that is a Breaking Bad character. But again, the core story is the two kids who he's helped, who has helped him set up this con to try and get some money. They've walked into a house. He's just walked into the house. The guy's pointed a gun at him. Like, what's the core setup? It's like he's walked into a house with someone pointing a gun at him. So I think the reason this show works so well is because anything that is a wink and a nod isn't necessary to understand what's actually happening.
No, but you do, as someone obviously who hasn't watched Breaking Bad, you feel like everything's hinted at a callback or something. You feel like you're missing context. But that might just be me because obviously I know there's 6 seasons of Breaking Bad I haven't watched. But yeah, Saul Goodman, Jimmy McGill, really interesting to watch. His Bob Odenkirk's really good. His network reference, obviously, in that big, he's a bit of a weirdo,
So that's the thing is, I think that you would like Better Call Saul. I don't know if you would like Breaking Bad. That's the interesting thing, because as you're speaking about it, obviously you enjoy Bob Odenkirk, and that's the thing about this show is Bob Odenkirk is from a comedy background, and quite often Better Call Saul is a funnier show than Breaking Bad was. Breaking Bad was a much more serious show, and his Saul's appearances in Breaking Bad were, like 10 minutes this episode, 10 minutes this episode. Like he was a core character, but he wasn't in it every single episode. He wasn't like one of the main cast members. And I get, in retrospect, watching this episode, it does feel maybe a little bit too wink and noddy for the Breaking Bad fan base. But when I think
they had to
about,
get him in, they had to trick him to stick around.
I'm like, maybe they had to do enough in the first to hook, line, and sinker some people in, but also get in some new fans. But it's funny when I think about the reason I love the last 2 seasons so much, which I think had just, the show continuously gets better and better in my opinion. The characters that I've obviously hinted this episode, I'm so annoyed that Rhea Seehorn wasn't nominated for Best Leading Actress, and she's one of my favorite characters in the show who only has like 2 minutes in this whole episode. She's a brand new character.
She was in the meeting, right?
She's in the meeting. She comes out, smokes a cigarette with Jimmy, and then she goes back. She's one of the main characters in the show. She's a brand new character though, so we don't know what happens to her character. If you've watched Breaking Bad, you know that she's not with Jimmy. They're not friends by time we get around to that timeline. Together. But what happens to her? Does she what is the cause of the reason they're not talking anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Who's to be known? So, and the other key bad guys in the latest season are also mostly new. So, in the spoilers for a couple of seasons from now, but obviously they introduced Giancarlo Esposito's Gus, who is the lead bad guy from Breaking Bad. But the other main bad guys are, especially in the last season, is a brand new character. And then even when you have Gus introduced, it's like, again, he comes in, he's introduced to you as a bad dude. I don't feel like you need to watch Breaking Bad to get the hint that he's a bad dude. Like, he's the head of a drug cartel. Like, it works either way. Yeah.
Do you think I should keep watching this and then potentially watch Breaking Bad after? Do you think it will work?
I think that'd be an interesting way to watch it. I've always wondered if I ever want to do a rewatch, if I'd want to watch Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad first. Because I think the key thing there is...
I mean, technically you will watch Better Better Call Saul, then watch
No,
Breaking
but I
Bad.
mean, if I was to do a rewatch,
A complete rewatch.
complete rewatch, what I'd want to do, because I think one of the interesting things is that black and white opener. That is the only time that happens this season, and then you see another
Series,
clip
yeah.
next season, and then
okay.
like it's only the season opener. I think around season 3 or 4 they do 2 of them, and then other than that they've only ever done it in the season opener and maybe the season closer sometimes. Very slow moving progression of what's happening to Jimmy in the future past Breaking Bad's timeline. So the thing that fans, myself included, always wonder is like when we get to the last season, like how much of that is going to be as in like sort of wrap up, because that story is very slow moving. Imagine watching 5 minutes of something happen across 6 seasons. Like you're taking a very long time to get to the finish of something. But if that leads to something potentially bigger, it might be this show might work better as a post Breaking Bad show rather than a pre, just depending on what things you want to do there. But no, I think this show can be watched on its own, and then you could probably decide if you want to watch Breaking Bad afterwards. Because I don't think it's going to ruin Breaking Bad. It would only make it better, because you would already know a lot of history between. This show is like, it's like a spin-off Star Wars thing. It's just going to like add more to Mike. It'll enhance.
It's Rogue One.
Yeah, like in a lot of ways, this show made Mike a lot more of an interesting character. And I always wonder if I would go back and watch Breaking Bad, if I would feel a lot differently about his character, because in Breaking Bad, he's presented as a bad guy, whereas in this show, he's presented as a good guy. So it's like it was very weird to watch this show originally, and you're like, okay, I'm not supposed to root for this guy, but all of a sudden I'm rooting for this guy. So it kind of changes the way you think about him. And then a couple other characters like Gus, obviously, I know if you've watched Breaking Bad, you know what happens to that character. I don't know if you know what happens to his character.
Yeah, I've been on the internet. I know what happens.
He has a very memorable finale to his time on Breaking Bad. So again, watching this is just going to make you know a lot more of his backstory to him and his sidekicks and whatever else. Watching that, and then the other person who becomes a key character in this show is the dude who played in Far Cry 3. I can't remember the actor's name now. God, I didn't know his name. Better Call Saul. Tell me. Plays. It's not like. Oh, no. It's Michael Mando, right? So he plays Nacho in this show. He's one of the other key characters. And he's one of the most interesting people in the show. But again, you kind of wonder what happens to him between now and Breaking Bad, because no one actually knows. But he's a key component in the cartel. So I feel like the show does what a good prequel show should do, which is some characters like Saul, you obviously know where he ends up, but then all the rest of the characters, you're like, okay, well, they're not in Breaking Bad, and you know they're not going to get involved with certain people, but then the intrigue is how, like, you know, instead of even though you know they're either going to end up dead or something, it's still intriguing to know how they end up there.
Cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to find us on Twitter, you can go to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. All our Twitter handles are available there. Hit that follow button. We appreciate it. Or if you want to check out our news reviews podcast, you can go to explosionnetwork.com. It's all there. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser or on Twitter, or tell a friend about the show. Let them know what our predictions were for the Emmys, and then tell them to let us know. Tell them to tell us what their predictions are. See, interaction all the way around. So you person listening, tell your friends our predictions for the Emmys, and then you, the listener, get your friends to tell us their predictions.
You got it.
Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Better Call Saul. You know, my favorite thing about the Better Call Saul behind the scenes podcast is them, whoever they have as a guest on each episode, one of the actors or whatever, they always get them to do their best Better Call Saul to outro the podcast with. I find that quite enjoyable. You have people
Better
like
Call Saul.
Giancarlo Esposito on there and whoever else doing, like, try to go, Better Call Saul. Like,